That we have church on Sunday mornings. I'm glad that we don't send, I'm glad that we have a schedule on it because it helps us plan our week and everything. But can you imagine if we just waited on God to tell us and there was one guy on the back of a camel who rode back around from house to house and said, we're meeting in 30 minutes. It would be a little harder to do things like that. But there were these holy convocations. There were these times where everyone got together. The Lord's appointed times, which you shall proclaim as holy convocations. My times are these: for 6 days you work, and work may be done for 6 days. But on the seventh day, there is a Sabbath of complete rest. It's a holy convocation. Make that seventh day a day where if you've been working out in the field, if you've been working at your job, you do those for 6 days, but you learn to turn them off so that you go on that seventh day and you say, God, today is yours. I am yours today. I'm yours. And of course, it'd be easy to throw rocks at situations where folks are going, well, Lord, I'm yours for 90 minutes and that's it. We know, we're not necessarily looking to bust people about that. That's not the issue. But to give a better understanding that God might be telling us it's a lot more than just going to church. They were scheduled holy convocations. These were worship as a noun, these scheduled times, these scheduled events. But could there be more than this? Could there be more than what you experience on Sunday mornings? Could there be more than that? I hope so. As a believer, I hope so. And you can go to the best church and the best place, and they can have the this and the that and everything. And there are going to be those situations where you go, man, I just could worship God forever here and everything, but I still would ask, is there more? Could I feel God's presence in my life more than just for an hour and a half on Sunday morning? Could I feel God work in my life potentially as I'm driving, as I'm talking, could I feel God? Is there more? Well, then we take this next step into this definition of worship as a verb answer, where it kind of broadens a little bit more, and maybe not too long ago in the recent several years that worship's been defined a little bit as a verb. It started to take hold that way. And it didn't so much just become about an event, but it started becoming about something that we did. Maybe it stepped, and this could be generationally, maybe it stepped a little bit out of a hymnal, sing it kind of a format into a, well, look, we just read the words now off a screen, right? I mean, right? And so you bring to the table not just the media that you're using, but you bring to the table now using worship as a verb. Am I going to insert myself into what's happening corporately? Am I going to, not if you play a guitar or you're a singer up here or something. It's so much the more that happens out here. Am I going to insert myself into the doing part of it? Am I going to help make worship a verb? Here you're being a part of it while you're at it. Here you're being a part of it while you're at it. But the challenge with that is it still has its own holes in the Swiss cheese. The challenge with that is, do you come on Sunday morning to the at it, and do you step into and when the music starts, do you step into being a part of it? And is it a switch, a worship switch, where you turn it on? If you get here on time, you turn it on at the beginning. If you get here in the fourth song, you turn it on for 2 songs. Again, we don't have this problem that I know about. But people have come to the event, and they've inserted themselves into part of it, and they've turned on worship, and when the event is over, they turn off worship, and they go back into life. And I would say there's got to be more. There's got to be more. There's got to be more to it than that. In the Old Testament, there were feasts, like the Passover feast, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. These were more than just events. They were things you went to and that you did. They were feasts. At feasts, you eat. At some feasts, you worshiped. At some feasts, you gave offerings up to the Lord. Now, all of a sudden, there's a do involved in your worship. There's a thing involved in your worship. You are a part of what's happening. In the Old Testament, we saw that with these feasts. In the Old Testament, sometimes priests would offer sacrifices on behalf of the people. But, you'd have to bring your own sacrifice. Can you imagine if we had to do that today? Can you imagine the petting zoo that have to be on the outside of the building? If we had to bring a little lamb each time? Oh, and I don't have the stomach for that. Sorry. I just don't. And each time, a little cage and a little pigeon, and man, I had a rough week, so I'm bringing the bull this time. And, whatever it was, and all of a sudden your pastor has to go and do all the business on sacrificing those things. No, thank you. I'm very, very thankful for the New Testament now. But they came to worship, and they were spectators or even involved at some point to some degree. And God was serious about having people at these events. He really made it part of Old Testament culture. He really wove it into all that they had to do, and he wanted them at the events and everything. And I just can't imagine what our feasts would be like today necessarily. I think they'd be food-oriented. I think that's absolute. I think that would be important. I think they'd probably be kind of clothing-oriented or something like that, something that we'd get today. If you're a Baptist, maybe it'd be the Feast of the Covered Dish Dinner. That might be one opportunity. Of course, after that, you would have to do the Feast of No Carbohydrates. I think that would be kind of the way that God would do that feast. I'm not sure what he would do on that, but he did feast for them that made sense to them. And he expected them to go to it and to be a part of it and to kind of take part in what the feast was. There are several examples, and we've only got one that we're going to show you necessarily today. In Exodus chapter 12, verse 1, it says, "For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, but on the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses." In other words, God was saying, I want you to do an action of worship for me. I want you to bring something to the table of worship for me. I want you to do more than just show up. I want you to do something. And this time it's going to be about unleavened bread. This time I want you to take those 7 days, and I want you to have your fasting of unleavened bread be your worship to me. Now, that may not make sense to us today, our drive-through mentality, our Super Walmart mentality, microwave, all that stuff that we have today. We may not understand why unleavened bread is important. And it's probably a great study to do, why God asked them to worship him for a week with that feast of unleavened bread. He told them to come be a part of something that was bigger than them, but that did involve them. And that feels better. I didn't just come to the event, but now I was a part of the event. I even clapped my hands. I even raised my hands. When they sang that song, my emotions welled up, and I felt a tear working up and everything. And I felt like I worshiped. And I'm not trying to make light of anything. I'm just saying these are the items that we are associating with worship in our modern day culture. And I believe that God is saying, that was good, but there's more. I get glory from it, but there's a little bit more. I liked what you did. I loved that you organized songs. I love that you but I'm telling you there's more. And I've been hearing these whispers in my heart for months and even years in my own life. That, Aaron, there's more of me than what you're experiencing. There's more. I like what you're doing. You've got a good noun understanding of worship. You've got a good verb understanding of worship. But Aaron, I want to take you to the next place of worship, and that's the lifestyle place of worship.